this stuff, I mean, it's already laws that are in place, driving your cars. We're just highlighting things that, you know, might fall through the cracks. Driving a company vehicle it has some different rules than it does driving your personal vehicle, as weird as that is. I mean, one of them, you know, I'm sitting there looking at John going, dude, it's illegal to we can get a ticket for a fuzzbuster since we're in a company car? Yeah, did not know that. I mean, just things like that. So it's all highlights of rules of the road that are already out there in place and that maybe they got updated this year. So, you know, try not to bore you too much, hit some highlights on a lot of the things, and the Federated guys are going to have a presentation, so thanks. I appreciate it.
Thank you guys. If I can have all the safety guys and the safety committee stand up, with the presidents, if you guys have any questions, if I'm not available, talk to these gentlemen here. We all take part in our safety committee. Punitive damages, the cost, I'll let these guys talk about, but just talking. Laws have changed in the state of Illinois about texting and driving, and you know, probably 90% of you guys do text and drive. But this is going to make you guys more aware of what can happen, what really can happen, and really it's turning into no difference than drunk driving when you get in an accident while you're texting and driving. The litigation can put you in jail, so, especially if someone is killed. So just think about that. So this is what this is really all about. And I'll leave it to these guys. We got Devin Ford and Chris Vespa here with Federated Insurance. They're going to give the presentation. All right, you guys ready? Thank you, Rick.
I'll start us off. So, Devin, I've been with Federated for 10 years, and I appreciate all of you guys coming into this room and sitting down with us. We hope we don't bore you, obviously. We want to give you some tidbits, right? There's nothing better than when I get made fun of, or one of my business owners gets made fun of after our presentation because they're saying, like, the ladder rules for, you know, one by four and all of that sort of thing, and they want to make a joke about it, but it's also like, hey, they picked something up and they're thinking about it, right? There's nothing better than when you guys might smirk a little bit, but then all of a sudden 2 weeks later you see one of your guys working under you and you go, wait a second, I remember that, you know? And you get on them and you save an injury, you save a life, right? That's what this is all about, right? So, you know, I know it's not easy to sit through a safety meeting. I have to do the same thing for my corporate company as well, right? But hopefully we'll give you some good tidbits as we walk through it.
Well, I'm Chris Vespa, so I work for Federated as a risk consultant. So I work with our top 150 clients in central Illinois. My area goes from probably Lincoln, Illinois, all the way to the northern part of the state. Thank God they cut out a little quarter circle around Chicago, so I get to ignore all that nonsense up there. But this is all I do. I work with organizations on their safety policies. I present to their groups and their employees on injuries and safety training. And essentially, I have a giant pool of data. So first and foremost, you guys may be wondering, like, who the hell is Federated Insurance? Why are these guys talking to us? Are they our insurance company? And the answer is no, to the latter question. So, but Federated Insurance is very big in the electricians world. So a little bit about us. We are the 9th largest mutual insurer in America. You guys may have never heard of us because we don't really advertise on TV. We don't sponsor golf tournaments. We don't have billboards or catchy jingles. And Aaron Rodgers doesn't work for us. All those things. So we kind of live in the background of the industries that we insure. We have 550 marketing reps, just like Devin. The only place people can get Federated Insurance is from one of our agents. And they're strategically placed all around the country to go direct to clients. Okay? We've got 71 guys like me that work within those regions. We have about 40,000 businesses we insure coast to coast. And of that, about 3,000 of them are electrical contractors. We're probably the #1, maybe #2 insurer of electrical contractors across the country. We're endorsed by NECA, Independent Electrical Contractors Association. We work with all of your industry trade groups on building risk management practices for you guys. So when I come and talk to an electrical contractor, I'm coming to talk about statistics and stats that I see from our 3,000 electrical contractors. So if an injury is happening to you guys or to somebody in Nevada, chances are it can also happen here. You guys are doing typically the same work, just different area, right? So as you look at some of the data I'm going to present to you, that's our data. It's specifically over, usually the last 3 years within our clients, where we have injuries, where we have claims and things like that. And we share this with your industry groups.
And when we sit down with the board of directors in each association, they're filling us in on what you guys are concerned about, what's coming down that's changing, and it might be, Chicago down, it might be West Coast California across. So we're trying to keep up and spread the word before it happens.
So in the world I live in, a lot of it's data driven, right? You guys were talking about near misses earlier. The world I live in aren't near misses. They're actually hits. They're claims that come in. Where do we get our claims coming in, and what categories, and what caused them, and what can we do with all this data, right? So in the insurance world, we group things into about 4 categories here, okay? Auto, general liability, property, and work comp, okay? The 2 columns you see in each category, the gray represents something we refer to as frequency. So that is the number of claims in that category that come in. So let's say we got 100 claims that came in, in this scenario, 61 of those claims was auto related. 22 of those phone calls reported were work comp related, right? The red column indicates the severity. And in this perspective, that's dollars paid out. So of all the dollars that Federated paid in claims over the last 4 years, and this is just within our electrical contractor book, of all the claims that came in, 61% of the claims that came in from electrical contractors for our book were auto related. 41 cents of every dollar that was paid out from Federated in that time period was paid out in an auto claim. Does that make sense? Okay. So, that being said, we're going to talk about some workplace injuries. So we're kind of going to bounce all over the place here on a couple topics because I want to make the best use of the time I got. I can't imagine it's cheap for Oberlander to get you guys all together. Every time I build a presentation like this, they're never going to be the same. So this was built specifically for you guys, even though, again, you're not our client, but I do care. So workplace injuries. So when we talk about people that get hurt on the job, these are the most frequent types of injuries. Okay? Again, not necessarily where we spend the dollars, but if the phone rings and an employee's hurt and it's an electrical contractor, these are the top 5 injuries that I see in my world. Okay? And I'm also going to preface here, so my Mondays can be pretty grim sometimes. So every Monday I get a list of the claims that come to me or that are reported in the Federated every month. And it comes in an Excel sheet, there's an application I have on my laptop. That's where all this data comes from. We group injuries into what caused it and then what category does it go into. And it's coded by what type of business was it. Was it an electrician, was it a plumber, was it a HVAC guy. So when you see these, again, this is current, this is over the course of the last 3 years. Okay? So top 5 most frequent, struck by object. I know that's kind of vague, you're like, struck by object. So think of it just as it sounds, like I was either hit by something or I hit something. Meaning like I could have walked into a pipe or something fell off a ledge and it hit me. Or I was bending down and I stood up and I cracked my head on something. I was struck by an object. Okay? Cuts, punctures, you can imagine, those are pretty frequent. You guys working with razor knives and sharp wire and whatever. Hand cuts, pretty common. Ladder falls. Number 3, guys falling off of ladders, all different sizes. Could be a step ladder, extension ladder, fixed ladder, telescoping ladder, whatever. Lifting and twisting is number 2. Guys, you guys work your bodies, all right? I'm 43 years old. My body is not the same as what it was when I was younger. So lifting things, you know, I go back to the heydays of my Richwoods High School football glory and think I can still do it. And now I'm down for the count for like 3 weeks. So our bodies just over time, guys, we've developed bad techniques on lifting, and maybe we haven't been injured yet. And that's the justification to say, let's just keep doing it the same way. And over time, our bodies just can't keep up. So we get a lot of injuries from lifting, twisting, repetitive motion. And the number 1 most frequent type of injury is falls from walking and working surfaces. That could be slips and falls on a job site, tripping over something. It could be I was working from above and I fell or fell off a ledge or a roof. Any fall, like my body hits the ground, whether I'm on the ground or I'm working from above. Most frequent type of injury we get from you guys. So now I'm going to shift gears a little bit and go to the most severe, okay? So again, where are the most dollars getting paid out for workplace injuries with electricians, okay? So number 5 is that struck by object again. Some of these are going to be consistent, but there's going to be a few surprises in there. Number 4 is burns and electrocution. So you'd think that we'd have a lot more with electricians, right? Getting burned and or electrocuted. Well, the thing is about you guys is most of you, I would assume you know what you're doing. That's why someone's hiring you to wire something, is because you know how to wire it, right? So we actually get very few electrocution and burns on the frequency side, but when it does happen, it makes the top 5 list of where the dollars get paid out. Somebody gets zapped by something really high voltage, probably kill you, if not, bang up pretty good. Again, that falls from working and walking surfaces. Again, if somebody falls from an elevated surface like that, depending on the height, they're going to be out for a while. Ladder falls, again, consistent with the frequency. Ladder falls, we're going to get to that later in the presentation. Number 2, most area where we pay out claims for the type of injury. So the number 1, I'm going to say for the next slide here, because I want to do these side by side as we're talking about them. So again, frequency, struck by is number 5. Cuts, punctures on the frequency. So severity, we don't really pay much out in claims in cuts and punctures, right? Most people don't really ever go to the doctor for a cut anyway. The ones that do, it's just stitches and maybe some antiseptic, right? So that didn't make the severity list. Ladder falls, walking, working surfaces, we talked about that. Same thing with lifting and twisting. You notice that we don't have that on our severity list. Some of those is just, hey, you know what, you gotta ice it, you might need to go to the chiropractor. They're frequent claims, but very rarely do we have high dollar settlements being paid out. And we talked about, obviously, the walking, working surfaces being most frequent. So anybody want to guess what the most severe type of workplace injury that we get is? Auto accidents. Auto accidents are the number 1 area where we pay out for an employee injury. So when you guys are driving for work and you're in an accident, whether it's your fault or somebody else's fault, that gets covered as a work comp claim. And I'm going to show you some more data here in a minute on what the claim situations are in Illinois, what can contribute to driving an accident up, and some factors like that. So we're going to spend a little bit of time on that. But I want to share this with you because this kind of is the passion for why I decided to do what I do for a living. So for 10 years, I was an agent just like Devin. I worked in Peoria County, Woodford County, over to Galesburg, kind of a few little Marshall County. About 2 years ago, I came over to the risk control side. I wanted to get in front of clients and make a difference. So when I was first starting out as a marketing rep like Devin, we didn't have somebody like me at Federated. There was no position that was a risk consultant. I did that as a marketing rep. So we would go and I'd make a promise, hey, you should buy your business insurance from me. We have great risk management here. We can help you keep your people safe, right? So part of the role I had was I had to go give I had a client that wanted me to do a safety meeting on driving. Probably maybe 6 months into the job, he wanted me to talk about distracted driving. I knew this client. I deer hunted with his son. His son also worked at the business, and about 3 weeks after I gave that presentation, this was his son's vehicle, my friend. They actually were a auto mechanic. They worked on heavy trucks and heavy tractors. They go on site. And he was on his phone and ran in the back of a dump truck, and he's still paralyzed this day. He barely lived. And that resonated with me because I go back and forth and I'm like, I was just given some canned presentation that Federated gave me and said, hey, go talk to these guys about distracted driving. And I didn't have any real life experiences with it, and nobody I knew was ever affected by it until this happened. And so it got me thinking that, you know what, like that meeting should have mattered more than it did. And maybe I was good, maybe I'm hard on myself, but that stuck with me. So at the end of the day, guys, I'm going to talk about some stats here at home that I spent a lot of time putting together for you guys. And it's stuff you guys have never seen. But at the end of the day, I do not want this to be you guys. The number one cause of work-related deaths in the United States, in Illinois, in Peoria County, is auto accidents. Okay? If you guys aren't going to make it home today at work, there's a 42% chance it's because you were in a car accident while you're working. Okay? And I think you guys have, what, 200 vehicles at Oberlander? Close. That's a big fleet. You guys are a big company. So just remember that. So here's the data.
Before you dive into that too, you know, Ray and I were talking about what claims would look like here at Oberlander, and I've got to commend you because for 200 vehicles on the road every day, and the amount of claims that Oberlander has for auto accidents, you're doing really well, right? It's not because you're not doing that. It's what can we do to get even better, right? And most companies have a lot larger of a problem. But that being said, what can we do to make it even better for us, right? And it's it's the people underneath us that were working for us. We want to see them make it home to their families each night too, right? So great job, and let's keep it moving forward as well.
So this is data that IDOT puts out and makes public that I pull from whenever I'm talking to clients, wherever I'm talking to clients in any county. So this is from Peoria County. The most recent data they got is calendar year 2022. We just got done with 2023, and given the fact that our government here has run so well, we'll probably have that, you know, 2 years from now. But in any case, so this is weather conditions related to crashes that occurred in 2022 in Peoria County. So anybody see anything on that stands out to you? 75% of the crashes that happened in this county happened in crystal clear weather. In 2022, Peoria County had 20 fatal crashes. 20 fatal crashes, 18 of them happened in crystal clear weather. Why do you think that is?
People more comfortable thinking they can tax, don't have to pay attention to the road.
Kind of what you alluded to, yes, when we started this, was it's things I'm going to talk about and I talk to clients about. It's not stuff we don't know already. Nothing I'm here is going to tell you anything new that you don't know. But we all get complacent. I get complacent, you get complacent, and same thing with driving, right? We don't perceive any hazards around us when it is crystal clear out, when things are calm. We don't look for hazards, right? We think about Tuesday, when you guys are out driving around on Tuesday, right? How were you driving Tuesday? With snow and ice everywhere. You knew what was ahead of you, what was behind you, who was beside you, who potentially could pull out in front of you. You're probably going below the speed limit. You probably got two hands on the road. You're not focused on anything else but the task at hand. And when we get crystal clear weather, you get people thinking, I can do more than just drive this car. Like, there's no danger around me. Let's see what the wife's cooking me for dinner tonight. And then they pull these things out. And just in the time I'm sitting here talking to you guys, this phone is smarter than me. It's always going to be smarter than me. It wants me to look at it. I got 6 notifications. Nope, maybe more. Bill Belichick retired. Great. Did I need to know that? No, but it wants me to pick it up. All right? All of our devices that we carry on us want us to look at. And the number one cause that's happening around here right now is that these devices catch us when we're complacent and our perception of hazards is low, and then we get caught off guard. Right? Breaking down the data further, right? Well, maybe it was crystal clear out, but the roads were wet. No, they were dry in most of the cases. Maybe it was nighttime. It was clear weather conditions, but it could have been night. No, daylight. Road defects. Man, some curious, like a bombing run in North Korea, right? You got dodging potholes, there's just craters everywhere. No defects on the roadway. So this is the majority of stuff we get. Oh, maybe we legalized marijuana. Maybe that's the problem. Well, this slide here, when they talk about the driver conditions, is interesting because IDOT changes it from the number of crashes to number of persons involved. Okay, so you saw before there was roughly like 4,000 crashes, but this goes from number of persons to number of vehicles. What does that tell us? It tells us, well, that in addition to the 4,000 vehicles that were originally on the crash, there was another 2,000. It takes 2 to tango, right? In those situations, they're testing both drivers, right? Or the police are observing or making notes, both drivers. Majority of them were all normal, no impairment, right? But this also jumps out. Fatalities, right? On the previous slides, we saw there were 20 fatal crashes. This says there were 27 fatalities. So what does that mean? It means those 20 crashes took 27 lives. So 7 people got taken with them, right? That could have been a passenger in the vehicle. Both the driver and the passenger died. Could be the person that was hit. They died. So there were 7 lives lost other than just the drivers in this situation. So we're going to roll kind of into the punitive damage piece here, and all this will tie together. But I also want to let you guys know, you guys drive billboards everywhere, right? Who here has ever been at a red light? You're late for something, light turns green, and the car in front of you is just not moving. And you know damn well what they're doing. They're probably checking their Instagram, Snap posts, whatever, and you miss the light, right? May that happen to anybody? It happens to me all the time. I get pissed off, right? I live right up the hill here, right up off of Cedar Hills in Oak Brook subdivision, where I live. There's a landscaper who used to do business in that subdivision a couple years ago. My children are 6 and 8 years old, and a couple years ago I'm teaching my youngest to ride a bike. And landscape flying through the subdivision, probably going 40, 50 miles an hour, pulling a trailer full of motors. I was pissed, so pissed. My neighbor across the street saw the same thing, and he was outraged. And he's an older gentleman, probably not a guy you want to piss off. He was on our association board. Everybody in our association in our neighborhood uses something called Nextdoor. You guys ever heard of Nextdoor? It's kind of like a neighborhood app you can talk to each other and check stuff through. He posted a picture of this landscaper on there and a pretty nasty message about him. And I would say that guy lost half the business in the neighborhood just from the way he drove around the neighborhood. So you guys drive billboards everywhere. You guys, I lived in Peoria my whole life. Oberlander has always been upper echelon of what I think of when I hear electrical contract. I've never had to hire an electrician personally. If I did, I'd probably hire you guys. You guys have one of the most well-known names. I hear your radio commercials all the time on WNBD. You guys have a really great perceived quality company you work for, right? Don't deteriorate that with the way you guys drive, okay? You guys have to be better. You guys have a billboard on the side of your vehicle wherever you go, okay? Think about like how your driving habits would change at home if you're driving, say, your personal vehicle, and you got your name, your address, your phone number on it, like, you're probably gonna be really courteous to other drivers, right? That's the way you should drive always, and I hope that's the way you guys drive in company vehicles, because you guys all wanna work for the best electrical company in Peoria, right? So keep that name, protect it, okay? People talk, okay? So I wanna talk about some recent claims examples that hit my desk Monday, okay? So, electrical contractor, across the center line of a 2-lane highway, texting on his phone resulting in a fatality, another permanently injured. Now these claims that I'm showing you here, most of these have probably, if I had to guess by the claim amounts, probably occurred a year ago at least, because these bigger claims take a while to play out. There's usually a lot of attorneys involved, a lot of depositions, lots of stuff, lots of court. But that was the final claim amount Federated paid out in my claim.
I'll stop you there too, Chris. So both of them showing $6 million and $5 million. One of the things that the attorneys are doing now is they're selling these cases. Oh, you're gonna keep going? All right.
So this one, another one, electrician rescued, arrived at his destination. Police determined he was traveling over 20 miles an hour. So let me ask you guys this. How do you think police know somebody was traveling 20 miles an hour over the speed limit when the accident happened? Anybody know? Phone could be, potentially, could be used. Measure the accident where the brakes, that stuff occurred. Yeah, they could probably use that. So, any of you guys ever heard of an EDR, electronic device recorder? Me neither, until I started digging into this and I look at these claims and how they were played out. So, pretty much every vehicle manufactured after 2012 has like a little black box in it, just like an airplane. You guys probably never know that. I didn't know that. And it's data that probably never gets accessed unless you have an airbag deployment and there's a crash. All right? Any police officer, any attorney can subpoena that EDR, and that EDR had the speed you were traveling when the airbag was deployed. It has the data leading up to that triggered event, and it all come out. It all comes out in the wash. So if somebody gets hit and they're T-boned, the police are trying to figure out the accident investigation, you got ISP involved, wherever, they're looking at that EDR and they can pull the data off of it and they'll be able to figure out the parameters of each vehicle that were in that accident. If somebody was turning, if somebody applied the brakes, heck, I think it even tells if somebody's blinker was on. So whether or not you guys know it, and they could probably supplement that with things like the phone or the skid marks trail or anything like that. Whether or not you guys know it, you all drive around with a little black box in the dash. So this last one, contractor was talking to a customer on his phone. We were on another vehicle seriously injuring the occupants. So those are a little bit of the recent ones. Anybody want to take a stab? What is the average wrongful death settlement in Illinois when a commercial business is involved?
What's the dollar?
So dollar amount of like an auto accident. So you're driving a vehicle on company business, you slam into my wife Jenny and she's dead. What's the average payout in Illinois for that right now? Who said 6? Close. 5.1 million. So when I started at Federated, that was probably about 2 million. And things have changed a little bit in recent years based on how these settlements are getting paid out. Okay? It used to be, so I'm 43 years old. Let's say I make 100 grand a year. I'm dead today. I got 22 working years until I'm 65. With interest, they backed it down a little bit, but 2.2 million is what my life is worth to my family, right? They probably backed that down a little bit, like I said, because they were going to give it to my wife in a lump sum, and they'll have interest and stuff there, but roughly $2 million is what my life would have been worth when I started at Federated. Who thinks that's enough today for you to never make it home to your wife? I don't think that's enough. I know if somebody took my wife from me today, and she offered me $2 million and told me to pound sand, like, I want the keys to everything you got. So that notion is what they refer to as social inflation. And I'm guilty of it, every one of us. But the concept of money nowadays is far different than it's ever been in history, right? And I think that's evident too, just if you look at Washington, and we're handing out trillions like the billions and billions like the millions, and nobody just, let's just spend this. That's fine. $100 million bucks sounds good to me, right? So that's how these attorneys are picking juries. They're mostly picking younger generation, but people that appeal to that social inflation of the concept of money, and it's driving lawsuits. The other thing is this third-party litigation funding, like Devin was alluding to. So Illinois is one of 12 states that allows private litigation funding. And what does that mean? So let's say my wife was killed in a car crash today, and there's a big, let's say Oberlander did it, okay? It's hit by one of you guys, right? I'm pissed, I want vengeance, right? So I'm gonna pick up the phone and I'm calling my buddy Jay downtown. Jay, my wife, she was killed today in a car accident, and you know, the police say somebody Oberlander was on their phone when they hit her, and I want to sue. Jay said, yeah, Chris, come on in. As soon as I hang up the phone, Jay is probably going to grab one of the pieces of paper that he gets from all these third-party funding places from around the country. Like, he probably gets 16 emails a day, his office does, about sell us your case, sell us your case, sell us your case. So I show up to Jay's office 2 days later. He slides a piece of paper over to me and says, hey, Chris, good news. I got you $4 million bucks. All you have to do is sign here, and it turns the case over to us. You don't have to go to court. You don't have to testify. You don't have to do anything. Just sign the case over to us, and you're good. So Jay turns around, basically takes that, and he sells it to one of these investors, right? They go to trial. It comes out, all the evidence. Hey, Oberlander, the guy was on his phone. The vehicle was, past due on its maintenance. All these factors that paint you guys in a bad light, and they get awarded $30 million bucks. And the jury thinks I'm getting that money for my wife, but I'm not. I already got $4 million bucks. I'm paid off. I'm done. That all goes to these investors, and that happens without the jury ever being told that. And that's Illinois, one of 12 states that does that. Other states allow it, but they tell the jury that, hey, this money's not going to Chris, it's going to the investment fund. So that's also contributing to what we've got going on in Illinois. The other tactic used by these attorneys is called the reptile theory, where this is where it gets into punitive damages, okay? Kind of the baseline of where we're going with this. Auto accidents are probably the #1 way you guys are going to get involved in a punitive damage suit. One, because they're the most frequent type of accident, and two, because people can easily paint something in a negative light as negligence. And that's all it takes to have punitive damages. So they're going to argue that Oberlander Electric is a danger to society. They're a danger to society because they let people have cell phones in the vehicle. They're a danger to society because they let somebody with 4 speeding tickets drive a vehicle who has a known history of speeding. They're a danger to society because they have a vehicle with tires that are almost bald that can't be safe for the roadway. They're a danger to society because they don't hold a driver safety meeting ever. You know how much Oberlander cared about public safety? They've never held a driving meeting, period. They're banking on you guys not having those things in place. As you guys came in here, you guys saw there was a driving policy, right? Did they pick that up already? So that is the #1 thing that gets subpoenaed first after a bad accident. They want, that's attorneys fishing. They're fishing to see if Oberlander has an official company position on how their vehicles should be operated on the road. What's expected of them, what the expectations are for a number of different parameters related to driving. And they're betting that they don't have one of those signed by every employee. They have that. That's all they have to do is stand up in front of a jury, airing a deposition, saying, hey, have you ever seen a driving policy? No, I've never seen a driving. They play that for the jury. That's it. Millions. So all that compounded with the fact that our state also just passed another law about 4 months ago that now allows punitive deaths for family members of victims. Okay, I don't want to bore you to death with what this means, but it's bad. Well, I guess it's good if you're the spouse of someone who is deceased or a family member of a deceased person, but bad for businesses. So in the past, punitive damages were only allowed if you were kind of a surviving member of an accident, meaning that if my wife was permanently injured, I can go after punitive damages related to Oberlander. My wife's still alive. She can sue for punitive damages. I can't. Now it opens up for the spouses and family members. Anybody can sue for punitive damages for anything in Illinois. So we went from a very poor, litigious state to just, it's going to get bad.
And punitive damages, the difference is like he used in his example, I make $100,000, or my wife makes $100,000 and she's killed, I'm going to get $100,000 over 22 years. There was a number to that, right? There had to be a mathematical equation to say, we're going to land on this number and we're going to make
this is what Chris's life is worth.
Right.
Yep.
And now this is just saying, well, now there's an extra bucket for the attorneys to say they were negligent and we're going to punish them. And so therefore, if we punish them, we're going to punish them with a larger amount of money to really make sure that this company never does it again.
So in a nutshell, they're going to say, oh, Oberlander carries $20 million worth of liability insurance. Okay, well, that's not going to hurt Oberlander if I only get $20 million. It's going to hurt their insurance company, but it's not going to hurt Oberlander. How about $100 million? $100 million will bankrupt this place. Keys over, you guys are all out of the job, trucks get sold, everything. They go after all the assets until this place is bankrupt. And then that's the punitive damage. Punitive damages will go for more than what the business is valued at to put them out of business. Or if you're one of these larger companies, the Fortune 500, it's enough to make their stockholders pissed when those shares drop, and now all of a sudden the board of directors is fired. Like, it's meant to punish a business, but in the world we live in with the clients I have, it's, here's the keys. We lost this thing, we're all starting fresh at a whole new electrical company in Central Illinois because Oberlander's no longer. So what can we do as it relates to punitive damages? What can you guys do to help? Okay? One, you're doing it here today. You're listening to a guy like me talk, but I hope it's coming through with flying colors and you guys are listening to what I'm saying. But follow the rules of your company driving policy, guys. Don't get complacent. Don't be that guy on a crystal clear day that thinks he can ignore the rules and break the law and pull out his cell phone and check his fantasy draft or whatever you're doing. Just, it's not worth it, okay? It's not worth it for your life and it's not worth it for the company.
And hold each other accountable, right? If you're driving with somebody and they're doing it, it's your life too that's in that car, right?
That driving policy you guys picked up, I recommend you guys take a look at that every year and sign it, right? Because a driving policy that was signed by an employee 6 years ago, if that's the most recent one you got, how do I defend you guys in court with that? Right? Because the other attorney's going to judge or allege that last time we talked about driving was 2016. Do they really care that much about driving? No. We talk about it every year, and it's always fresh. Have a documented driver safety meeting. You guys had a sign-in sheet on the way in here. Like, have that stuff documented. This is as much about your safety as it is everything. But when you're driving, when I'm giving a presentation on distracted driving, we have an acronym, drive safe. Drive the right speed, pay attention, don't drive fatigued, and keep your emotions in check. Okay? Maintain and report problems with your vehicles, right? If something's wrong with your vehicle, the brakes are squealing, you got bald tires, get it to the proper people that need to know so that we can get it fixed, okay? Leave your phone alone, okay? All the crashes we get, I don't have the stat up here, but the majority of them are all caused by distracted driving. Speed's usually a factor, but it's speeding and you on your phone, you know? So the average text takes 4.6 seconds to send while you're driving. If you're going 55 miles an hour, that's the length of a football field that you're driving, looking down, okay? So there's things you can do. I don't think, given your track record and how high your management speaks of you guys, that you guys are there yet, but you know, there's technology that can be leveraged to help stuff, right? If you're a truck driver in Illinois, or a commercial trucker, actually pretty much anywhere nowadays, if you want to have business insurance, you've got to have a front and rear facing dash cam. No insurer will touch a long haul trucker without, because they can't defend against it. And trucking claims have just gone through the roof in our state. Anybody driven up around Chicago and you hit the billboards with the cowboy hat lawyers and all this stuff going like, I can get you millions or whatever, like that's the reason. So there's technology that can be leveraged. And I don't think the industry's there yet, but you know, again, if you're a company like Federated, we've got $20 million of auto liability on the line and we're getting our clock cleaned. How do you think that's going in the world of insurance? Are rates getting more expensive or cheaper? Who here's got a personal auto policy that went through the roof the last year? Like, I know I did. Like, personal auto policies are getting cleaned up too, you know? There's companies out there, State Farm, you know, offer the little pucks, you know, for driver discounts. You drive better, you get a better rate, right? Unfortunately, that doesn't work well in the commercial insurance world because the drivers aren't the ones paying the bill, right? It's the management, so that business model doesn't work. But it still helps us defend clients if we have things like that. So, last thing on driving here, I don't know if you guys know what to do if you're in a vehicle accident. If you guys have a form that you use, you're welcome to borrow ours, but it just talks about what we should do, right? Obviously, first and foremost on here, you know, pull over where it's safe, you know, see that you're tending first aid to anybody, right? We're all human beings. Even if we were at fault, like we all want to help somebody, so by all means, if you want to help do that, be courteous, don't argue with them, you know, talk to the police, sign stuff the police want, but try to limit your interactions. We don't really know what happened, and you're traumatized, and the other people may be traumatized, so don't say something that can make you look foolish in front of a deposition or something like that. You know, and then fill something like this out just to help you, you know, remember what all happened, right? Complete that diagram, because going back to what we were talking about, if this is a bad accident, those things will take months, if not years, sometimes to play out. And you could be involved in a vehicle accident today, and then sometime in early 2025, somebody calls you in for a deposition, and you're sitting there going like, I don't remember. Because I had the red light, or they had the red light. Like you can't remember, and you'll have a statement that was given, and you want to recall that. So take pictures as much as you can, but just know what to do in an accident.
That's what I was going to say too. Does anybody know how long an attorney has to even file a claim? So before you even know that they're going to take you to court, take Oberlander to court, does anybody know what that grace period is that they have?
A year.
A year? It's actually 2 years for liability, 5 years for property damage. How many of us can remember back 2 years ago to what happened, right? The other big piece is getting witnesses, right? Sadly, we're in the negative because we're a business, right? They're thinking, I'm suing this business, they got all this money, you name it. So they're thinking, I'm going to take as much as I can. You're already painted in a bad light. You've got to have as many witnesses as you can to help you, and filling out these sheets is a huge deal when you go into court 2 years later, and you got to remind everybody what actually happened, not let the details get fuzzy.
So I've kept you guys 45 minutes here. I'm going to kind of just touch briefly on some of these other things. These other safety meetings, when I usually give them, I could spend a half hour talking about each one of these topics. Well, maybe not cuts and punctures. That's pretty dang easy, just wear your gloves, right? But ladders, since it is one of the top injuries, don't be any of these guys. You know, I I do a lot of job site walkthroughs on construction sites. Some of you guys may have seen me. You know, none of these thankfully are actually my clients, but anyway, there's always something out there, right? And we do have an OSHA guy, his name's Brian Bofast, he's based out of Peoria office. I do know he's on certain job sites and things of that nature. And he may be looking at another contractor, but he's on that job site and sees somebody doing something unsafe. So don't be that guy that's on the ladder like that, right? I give this guy credit, he's at least got a fire.
You get on, Jeremy, I'll hold you.
You know, and this guy's really happy here. He's got his hard hat on at least, you know, and that's a picture of my dad in 1996. Don't stand on the top rungs of ladders, right? So 20% of all the injuries that are reported to Federated are ladder related. So remember that was on our frequency list. 20% ladder related. And of the injuries that we get, 60% of them are injuries from 5 feet or less. So every year OSHA records about 300 worker fatalities from ladders. This is all public knowledge. You can go on our website, type in Illinois, sort it. You can probably see who all died related to the ladder, how many fatalities. OSHA is all public. So Oberlander is trying to bid jobs, you know, all over the state, all over the area, and people that are vetting you in the bidding process are looking at stuff like this, and they can see whose names pop up, right? So this slide here is actually one of my favorites. It's a couple years old, but I've never been able to find an updated one on this. What's going on in this slide, this is by the National Emergency, I can't remember what it is, the NEI. They track emergency room activity throughout the country, okay? So these are showing ladder fatalities and non-fatal injuries, okay? So, and this is the ladder case, right? So 6%, roughly, well, let's say 9% of the ladder fatalities in that 10-year period occurred from 6 feet or less. 27 occurred from 6 to 10 feet. 11 to 15, you got about 25% of fatalities occur from that height. These are the injuries, non-fatal injuries, so 50% of emergency room visits from ladder falls are from 6 to 10 feet. The interesting thing on this slide, once you get to 16 to 20, there's no injuries anymore. Everybody died. So no one in that 10-year period was treated in an emergency room from a fall above 16 feet. They all died. So that's pretty humbling, and I remember that slide every year when I put up and take down my Christmas lights. I'm sitting there thinking, all right, this is an 18-foot ladder. Like, I'm not better than the odds, you know, and I look what's below me. So humbling when you think about ladders, right? Common ladder mistakes, I'm going to kind of high step through this for time, but obviously don't stand on the top step, inspect them, make sure the ground is good, 3 points of contact facing the ladder. Ladder use the right one. You guys, I don't know, I can't imagine Oberlander has any aluminum ladders at all. If you do, I don't know why you would. So non-conducive ladders, fiberglass, always face the ladder. And then remember that 4-to-1 rule like Devin was talking about when you're setting up an extension line. Fall protection, just know you guys are on all the job sites you guys are on. I've walked through them. I've yet to see anybody that, any GC around here that doesn't have their own, you know, guy walking around, or hoping you guys remember this stuff. But 6 foot or more, you need fall protection. If you're working over on a fixed ladder, this one gets missed. A fixed ladder is something attached to a building. It's not a portable ladder. You might be going up the side and you have some sort of fall protection. It's not guarded. Surface guardrail and warning lines. If you're working less than 6 feet between the line and the edge, you need to have that on. Obviously, we got weather conditions out. Be aware that can play a toll on what you need for fall protection. If you notice something like this on a job site, you need to say something. If you're an electrician and you're working on a job site and you're maybe, let's say you're less than 6 feet away from this thing, or maybe even more, but you're working around it and OSHA's on site, even though you're not the one responsible for that, you're working near it and they can cite you. I doubt Brian would do that unless you were mouthing off a little, but you could. And everybody on a job site has a part to play in safety and in fall protection. So, you know, make sure you're putting your harness on right. If you don't tie it, you can't do anything if you're wearing it wrong. You know, this often gets missed, inspecting your fall protection, right? A lot of the manufacturers of harnesses, they give you a checklist. I recommend going through that once a year and giving it to your supervisor. You can find something that looks like this and just circle anything that may be off, maybe needs to be fixed, or if it's not repairable, scrap it. So take a peek at this stuff and look at it because it can save your life. But it can't if it's busted or if it's rusted or you got frays or chemical damage or that thing's been sitting in the back of your pickup truck all winter and then you go to pull it out and then you put it on and you realize that the mouse has chewed through half. It doesn't do you any good, right? So.
And the scarier part is we're expecting it to do its job, right? And then all of a sudden we get too careful because we think it's going to take care of us if we make a wrong move. If we didn't properly inspect it now we're on the hook because, you know, something was wrong on that end and we didn't care about it and we thought we were safe enough with it all.
Yep. Any questions on anything I've talked about here today?
Lawyers going after the actual individual too that are in the accident?
Well, it depends on the situation, but you can rest assured.
Our insurance company that I sit on the board of that's, does our workman's comp also, like US Tool Buddies, anybody that an attorney can go after, they're getting added to the claim, whether it's a vehicle accident or, if you're talking on your phone, they want you too. If you're talking on your phone and you're not watching your apprentice while he's, pulling wire and gets his arm ripped off, the family wants you too. Why did you let him do it? That's why we press safety so much, whether it's driving and or the work side of it. I don't want any of you to have to go to court over something somebody thinks we did wrong, right? So we just keep trying to drive a culture, and Ray cares about all of you. We've had brothers in the last few years, a fall accident, down at Cat, we lost a guy, right? We all work together at some point over our long careers in our local, and Oberlander, we're 99.9% IBW members in the office. We all know each other. We all want everybody to be safe. So whether it's driving or working, so.
Well, and also to elaborate too a little more, insurance doesn't cover criminal acts. So let's say your insurance company may be treating employees as insureds, right? You're working on behalf of Oberlander, we're going to pay to defend you, but if you were doing a criminal act while you were driving, that's excluded, right? So what's a criminal act? Criminal act by law in Illinois. What's speeding? Technically it's a criminal act, right? So you get into that gray area of things and it gets a little messier. So
No disrespect to insurance companies, you guys all do pretty well. If you have a wife that works or husband that works, now you do really well. They're all trying to, like I said, no disrespect. They'd like to push a liability insurance on you that covers you while you're coaching your kid's bitty basketball team, and so if we just be safe, you don't have to follow rules and do things legally. You don't have to cover yourself that bad. You know what I mean? You're doing the right things. Our insurance will cover you as long as we're not doing, if you're on your cell phone and you hit somebody and kill them, we can only help. Our insurance will only help so far, right? So That's why we just try to keep this culture of doing it safe. If we can figure out how to do things fast and safe, that's all we're trying to do.
Okay, handed out an awareness statement there, just letting you guys be aware of the policy, and we'd like you guys to sign this. Everyone, I'm going to go visiting the job sites. Everyone that couldn't make it today, I will be visiting these job sites, especially for anyone who drives a company vehicle will be signing these as well. So it's not just you guys attending, but we appreciate you guys coming for sure.
I truly thank you for the time you guys granted me in front of you.
We're going to do the safety draw.
Hope you guys be safe this weekend.
Okay,
Hug your families.
I'll see you in the job, guys. And doing this presentation for us. Like they said, they are not our insurance company, and they did it for the fact that they care. We're part of the Greater Bureau Contractors Association as well. But really appreciate you guys. Thanks so much.